Hidden beneath the sands of southern Mesopotamia lies the cradle of civilization. An ancient world where writing was born, where cities first emerged, and where humanity took its first steps towards organized society. On this video, we'll journey back over 5,000 years to uncover who the Sumerians truly were. Prepare to meet the forgotten architects of human history. Hello noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and today we are talking about one of the most ancient civilizations, if not the most ancient civilization in history, the Sumerians, although we should say that the name itself is incorrect. We are not starting strong, are we? The Sumerians were the creators of the first known civilization in human history, flourishing in southern Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, particularly the region between the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers, around 4,500 to 1,900 BC. However, even though we have a precise location, the exact origins of the Sumerians are still debated. Alright, but what do I mean by the name being wrong? Well, the name Sumerian technically doesn't exist. While we could consider the word Sumerian ethnonym, it is in fact artificial. Now given, one could say that every word is artificial in a way, and you would be right, and very pedantic, and I appreciate that. However, this did not evolve organically, and it was not the way they used it, nor anyone else in period. The word was in fact created by contemporary historians and linguists, starting from the word Shumer, which is indeed an ancient word, but it's Akkadian, another people from around the same area, further north, that came later, and we will discuss on a separate episode. The word in question, Shumer, was in fact used to denote southern Mesopotamia, specifically the area in direct contact with the Persian Gulf, and they used it to distinguish it from their land further north. However, the actual Sumerians, not only they did not use this word to define their land and themselves, but they didn't even speak a related language with that of the Akkadians, who were a Semitic people, and therefore spoke a Semitic language. The word the Sumerians used to denote the territories that they inhabited sounded something like Kengir, which has been translated as meaning the land of the noble lords, or the land of the lords of the cities. To define themselves as a people, they used the word Saniga, which meant black heads. Even the Akkadians, as they were referring to the Sumerians, used the word Shmat Kadi, which in Akkadian literally means those with black heads. When it comes to the current consensus, the Sumerians are considered a non-Semitic people, as their language, Sumerian, is a language isolate, meaning it has no known relatives. Some theories propose that they were indigenous to southern Mesopotamia, while others suggest that they migrated from an earlier Neolithic culture in the region, or possibly from neighbors further east, such as from the Iranian plateau or beyond. Even though we are talking about an extremely ancient civilization, the Sumerians reached several impressive achievements. They established some of the world's first cities, including Uruk, Ur, Eridu, Lagash, Nippur, and Kish. They invented a cuneiform script, which was their writing system, one of the earliest forms of writing, which began as pictographs and eventually evolved into wedge-shaped symbols. The Sumerians developed early forms of bureaucracy, kingship, and codified laws, exemplified by rulers like Ur-Nammu, who issued one of the oldest law codes ever. Probably one of the most impressive structures that they would build were the monumental temple structures known as ziggurats, with religious, cultural, and administrative significance. As described from the definitions on Oxford Languages, in ancient Mesopotamia, a rectangular stepped tower, sometimes surmounted by a temple. Ziggurats are first attested in the late 3rd millennium BC. Another thing that the Sumerians managed to do was to create a mathematical system, in fact an hexadecimal system, or 60-based counting system. And interestingly enough, we still use it today to count time. 60 minutes, 60 seconds, rings the bell, rings the freaking ziggurat. Sumerian religion is another chapter of its own, which would require a dedicated video. Their religion was polytheistic, as it was the case in period, worshipping deities such as An, the sky god, Enlil, the lord of the air, Inanna, goddess of love and war, and Enki, god of wisdom and water. The Sumerians believed the humans were in fact created to serve the gods, and much of their societal structure revolved around temple complexes. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much. Sumerian society was hierarchical, with a pyramid structure, with kings, priests, merchants, artisans, farmers, and at the bottom slaves. In order to try to correctly and professionally define the origins and ethnogenesis of the Sumerians, we have to rely on archaeological and literary data. As we discussed, the Sumerians emerge in Mesopotamia, the land in between the two rivers, Tigris and Euphrates. But the most accredited hypothesis is the one proposed by the Assyriologist Giovanni Pettinato, who proposed a foreign origin to the Sumerians, a migration from the Indus Valley. In other words, at some point during prehistory, various groups coming from the Indus Valley would have reached this area by sea, and then they would have settled and created the early people that will eventually evolve into the Sumerians through the Uruk culture. And among others, one of the characteristics that seems to be pointing to this origin is the presence of some connections and overlapping similarities between the language spoken by the ancient Sumerians and Dravidic languages spoken in the southern sections of the Indus Valley. Now, regardless of their geographical origins and whether they are correct or not, what we can say for sure is that the development of Sumerian city-states and the so-called urban revolution that followed is one of the most transformative phases in human history, which is why we say that, generally speaking, the concept of a civilization began with the Sumerians. And even though oftentimes when we think of the city-states we think of the Greeks, the reality is that the Sumerians were the originators of the concept. Sumerian city-states would have been undoubtedly a sight to behold. Each city-state was politically independent and typically centered around the main city and its surrounding farmland. These cities were often walled for defense and centered around the ziggurat, which we discussed earlier on. However, several temples which were dedicated to patron deities functioned as economic hubs, controlled land, labor, and wealth collection centers. These were so important that early on cities were in fact governed by priest kings, the so-called ensi. But over time, military kings, the Lugal, meaning great man, gained power. They fought wars over water rights, land, political dominance, and through shifting alliances and conquest plans. The economy in ancient Sumer was based on irrigated agriculture, especially barley and date palms, and supported by craft production, long-distance trade, and animal husbandry. Each city had a centralized economy, with goods funneled through the Temple of Pallas, where they were stored, redistributed, or traded. It was probably the need for administration and record writing that fostered the creation of the cuneiform alphabet writing systems that we mentioned earlier on in the video, which was used for the production of literature, legal documents, and of course, religious texts. What's fascinating about this is that both the settled aspects of the Sumerians and in general the agrarian connection of the Sumerian man is a defining feature. A man from this period and this area identifies himself as a man of the farmed land that eats bread and drinks beer. Even though this might not sound that defining to us, I mean, the idea of a man who works the land and survives through the products or produce of that land is, in fact, in this specific historical connotation, a very defining feature because it sets him aside from nomadic tribes, nomadic people, and previous hunter-gatherers. It is a civilized man, and it acts, in a way, as a precursor of the distinction between the civilized man in ancient Rome and the barbarian. Seems like this in-group, out-group thing has been going on since forever. Maybe that's why it's so hardwired in us. if we want to go even deeper and understand all the different societal layers of Sumerian civilization and life, then we have to look at it this way. Within a Sumerian city, which once again is some form of proto-city, you have two main centers, as we discussed, the temple and the palace, supervising the production of surplus. This surplus of produce, whether it be food, whether it be all sorts of merchandise, was then used to guarantee the support and fueling of other layers of society, such as that of the specialized workers, just among others, and of course the military. Now, I would like to go deeper into their political system and organization. You know how we said that initially they had some sort of priest king, which then became a military king? This is a simplification, because the reality is that there were multiple different types of single leader, and their names and possible offices differed depending on the city-state. Do remember, these are separate, independent entities belonging to the same culture. So, let's have a look at the city-states very quickly. In the most archaic period, it is very likely that before a single element was chosen, the leading men would have been some form of assembly. But then, from this assembly, a single would be chosen. Now, in the city-state of Ur, which we see here in the south, the name of this specific chosen leader, or the name of his title, is En, which literally means priest lord, therefore suggesting some sort of religious connotation, or the possibility that he was chosen from an inner college of priests. In the city-states of Kish and Umma instead, we have a different term, Ensi, which means lord of the farmed land, which instead suggests some sort of administrator, although then again, an administrator that functions as a connection between the people and the gods. Subsequently, in the cities of Ur again and Lagash, we have the birth of another term, the Lugal, which, as we said before, means great man, but this one definitely has military connotations, and it's slightly later as a development. A warrior monarch, one could say. All in all, the fundamental reason why Sumerian culture is considered as one of the foundational cultures in human history is because it represents the earlier known human organization in the form of a civilization that contributed religion, art, literature, science, and law, laying the groundwork for subsequent Mesopotamian societies, such as the Akkadians, the Babylonians, and the Assyrians, also influencing civilization far beyond Mesopotamia. Moreover, daily life is also very interesting when looking at the Sumerian period. Houses were made of mud brick with flat roofs and inner courtyards. Sumerians enjoyed music, board games like the royal game of Ur, and feasting. Education was primarily for elite males, especially for training scribes. People wore woolen or linen garments, often draped in knee-length skirts for men or draped dresses for women. Much of their cultural framework was in fact inherited by subsequent civilizations, leaving a sort of blueprint for Near Eastern urban society. Furthermore, their myths, symbols, and literary themes permeated into later Mesopotamian cultures and has correspondence with several biblical narratives. It will be, in fact, Sargon of Akkad in 2320 that will bring an end to the Sumerian kingdoms and kings, creating therefore the foundational basis of the Akkadian Empire. As we will discuss more in details on a dedicated video to the Akkadians, which will be one of the episodes of this series, even though the Akkadians are indeed a Semitic people, so they are different from the Sumerians, they will adopt their writing system. And even the Sumerian language, which as we said is unrelated, will still remain within both the Babylonian and later the Assyrian context. A little bit of an anachronistic parallelism, we could consider it a bit like Greek was under Roman dominance. Latin was the language of the conquerors, but Greek remained a language for the elites, and the same will be with Sumerian within these later cultures. For today, I would like to finish this brief journey through Sumerian ethnogenesis. If you liked this video, please remember to thumbs up, leave a like, and share it so that we can try and beat this freaking algorithm once and for all. Thank you very much for watching, noble ones, and remember, the Metatron has spread his wings. Goodbye.